Hello, Casey.
Hello, Ty.
Very good.
Okay.
Good morning, Casey. How are you?
I'm good, Ty. How
That's
are you?
great. So, once again, we're down here at the Real 365's Wellbeing Collective. Ben has left us in charge. And we're going to be talking to Casey. Casey is an NLP, and you're a hypnotherapist as well.
Yes. So, I dabble with basically helping people overcome their limiting beliefs, limiting patterns, their unconscious patterns, and help them to actually move past, whether it be in their life, their business, all these different kind of strategies to help them actually overcome what hurdles they're having in a mental block.
How did you get into doing something like this?
Well, I was in the military. I'd had a pretty rough upbringing as a child. And so I, at a young age, joined the military because I wanted security, I wanted safety, I wanted all those things. And so when I joined the military, after about 3 months being in, I got really injured. And I had L4, L5 bulging discs in my back, stress fractures through my hips. I couldn't walk for like 3 years probably. And I had all these limiting beliefs that developed around it.
How did you do that?
I was pack marching. So, my back froze one day and my corporal just came and ripped the pack off my back and I kept walking. They took me into medical and basically when they took me in there, they just gave me some painkillers and, hold pack. And I was good. I was back out there the next day. But what happened was, because I thought it was fine at the time, it wasn't really recorded the way it needed to be. 3 months down the track is when I had the real
Always
bad...
the way.
Yeah, I had some really bad stuff happen with it. And anyway, after about 18 months of trying to fight the injury, I had to get out because I could no longer walk. I couldn't wear the boots. I couldn't serve. And I was med class 4. So they told me if I wanted to get out and get back in, I could. So at the time, I was still med class 3. So I was still technically fit for defence. And then the minute I handed in my discharge papers to try and get back in, they med classed me 4. So never fit to return to defence ever again. So, for a little girl who had a dream to join the military, I then had to refigure out my whole life plan.
And what was it? What was that? What was that time like?
It was really, without swearing, it was hard. It was
fucked.
It was fucked. So I didn't know whether we were going to go down that lane.
Right.
So so basically, when I got out, I had every intention of getting straight back in. Mm-hmm. And I was like, sweet, because, when I was a young kid, I had the choice to either become a lawyer, I got accepted for law and criminology, or to go to the military. Because I didn't have any money, I had a lot of beliefs around money. I was like, well, military will pay for all my education. So then when I didn't have that security of them being able to pay for everything, for them keeping me safe, for them keeping me, making sure I always had work and all that sort of stuff, I felt really lost. So I'd moved with my ex at the time up to Townsville because he was like then my security blanket. So everything I'd done from that point as being an adult was making sure I had some security in my life. And having that security though actually held me back from really achieving anything in life because I was so scared to be in the unknown. I was so scared to take a risk. I was so scared to do something different. And it wasn't until my initial choice of joining the military was to become a PTI within the Air Force. So that's like a personal trainer within the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And because I was no longer fit for doing that, I constantly had all these people, once I started getting fit again, saying, you should really do this, you should really do this, you're really helping me with it. And because we'd all train as a group and friends and in boot camps and stuff. And so I eventually went down that path of doing it, but I still had lots of limiting beliefs. And the more I dived into being a personal trainer, running my own business with it, I was always too scared to let go of my part-time job because that was my security blanket again. And I was always too scared to really dive deep into being the master at anything because if I was the one person who succeeded, it was almost like I had a fear pattern of being scared of success. And
you're scared of being in control?
A little bit, yeah, because in the military you're taught everything's controlled for you. So I had this, well, if I have to make up the decisions, I'm going to fail.
Yeah, and ultimately you're responsible.
Yeah, totally. And I didn't have to be responsible before. So now it's like, well, if I actually step out on my own, I've only got me. And I had all this fear around it. And the more I trained people, the more I seen that play out in all their lives. And they were constantly coming into me talking about all their personal stuff, and I started almost life coaching them through personal training sessions and through my own experiences through relationship breakdowns and all the things that happen throughout life. Yeah. And eventually I realized no one comes into the gym for training. Not one single person walks into the gym just to feel healthy and feel fit and feel good and move, because if they wanted to do that, there's parks, there's running, there's all different things that people can do, right? Some do it maybe just for convenience, but anyone who hired a trainer, myself, they needed motivation because something was holding them back. And that was the thing that made me really just go, wow, we all have our shit. We all have our stories. And I'm already helping people get over theirs, but I really need to be qualified in doing it. So I was like, I had people coming into me and they're going, oh, I left my job because I wasn't happy, and you keep saying you got to make yourself happy. So I was like, fuck, I'm either going to end up really, really broke, or they are, or I'm not going to be able to have a business because people aren't going to come into me. And so, yeah, I started watching Tony Robbins, and I started watching, I went to Aaron Sensoni, which is like a Empire Mastery weekend, and then I started getting right into self-development, looking at Kerwin Ray and all these different people, what they were doing, and I put the dots all together. They were all NLP. Every single one of them had NLP training underneath them.
Really?
Yes, so Neurolinguistics programming, understanding the mind, our conditioning patterns, our limiting beliefs, where we go, how we do things, why we move the way that we do. Because our unconscious mind, it controls our meta-programming, it controls our behaviors, it controls our language patterns, our emotional responses, it controls everything. And if you can master those things, you can master your life. And that's where I was like, wow, I need to get over my shit. I need to get over this I'm poor, broke money story that I was playing, because it was costing me everything. I was spending money on dumb stuff, and I was earning good money, but I wasn't keeping it. I wasn't able to run a business successfully. I wasn't able to keep clients. I wasn't able to keep moving forward because I couldn't control my own scarcity mindset.
What are some of the things that people come into your office and want to talk about?
A lot of the stuff is emotional responses, because when we look at the limiting blocks and beliefs that people have, usually it's depression, anxiety. It's usually those sorts of things that are holding people back, because we get so caught up in, I guess, the sadness and the hurt and the fear and the anger and the guilt, and it creates these drama cycles in our mind. And because we're so caught up and used to being in that emotion, we then project that out into our future. So what happens is we build and create right now, but if we're creating now from a space of being caught in our past of depressional states, yeah, we get attached to it. And then the only way we can move forward is to release that pain, is to release the anger, the sadness, the fear, the hurt, the guilt. And so that's what I help people do. I help them overcome the hurdles of their own mind through helping them learn the lessons, helping them understand why that's there, helping them understand how something has continued to repeat on cycle, create a repetitive cycle for them.
And probably understand a cycle too, because even when we did a little session together and that sort of thing, you start to realize there's a lot more than you actually realize going on. And it was really interesting. I'm glad we did this again after the session, because it was even for myself, I feel like I'm pretty on top of me shit. Yeah. No, you're not really
but no one ever is, right?
No, it's you got to be okay to say that. You don't have to be on top of everything. Yeah. But I understood after that there was some stuff there that I wasn't addressing or didn't quite understand properly.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I've found for myself, the more I dive into this, the more I dive into myself, and I'm not even exaggerating. I have spent well and truly tens of thousands of dollars on my mind. I'm talking over $50,000 easy, right? Just developing, understanding, growing. And I still do. I still invest. I still have coaches. I still have people who help me grow, right? And the reason why I do that is because there's going to be people who come in and see me who have big problems, stuff that I've never dealt with. And so I need to know that I'm equipped to handle that, right? And the thing that I find is when we get caught up, and you just said it perfectly then, you think you're on top of everything, and then something will happen and you'll just be like, whoa, I didn't know I still had that. I'll just use an example for myself recently. like I've done a lot of, I guess you could call spiritual work, like going deep into understanding our parasympathetic nervous system, and I dive really deep on that as well, like in trying to get people to understand the connection between the mind and the body and how everything stores in the body. And I have done a lot on myself, a lot, like big deal of it, right? And so I always say a coach can only take you as far as they've taken themselves.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? And anyway, I've just recently been doing this course, and this course dove so far deep into like our mother and father wounds. And whilst I love my family, I think they're so beautiful and so like we've been through stuff together, we've overcome it together, we're all really close now. But I did not realize I still had hurt patterns from things that had happened where I thought I was okay from it. And it wasn't until I started diving into this and had to really forgive, I had to work through it, I had to understand what pattern that had created it. And I was wondering why I couldn't keep men in my life, because I did not feel safe with the masculine or with a man because of things that had happened in my childhood. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was able to dive in that and just go, you know what? It's actually got nothing to do with other relationships or other people or my dad or my mum or anyone. It's the fact that I hadn't given myself the space to heal from that, to understand my conditioning patterns.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so when I was able to understand the conditioning patterns, I sort of was able to take a look and go, okay, that's why I've pushed every guy away in my life.
Yeah.
That's why I've continued to do that whole I don't need a man thing. And it's only now as you come to nearly the age of 30, you go, oh, they're meant to actually come together, like basically. And that was the cycle.
You men suck.
Yeah, I didn't.
Then you're like,
yeah.
why are they all the same?
Yeah, I did that a little bit for a while. I was just like, and you see girls, and I went through it as well, and I can honestly say this. I think it's about the age of girls from about 23 to 25.
Right.
If they're single. And then, because guys in that age bracket, they want to have fun. They want to party.
Piss off every girl there.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna trigger a lot of women when I say this, but if they are the kind of woman who puts up their blocks, and I say this because I've been it. Like, yeah. I'm not trying to trigger people in it. Yeah, I'm just being real, right?
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh yeah, no, all men are the same. They're all fuckboys and they're all this and they're all that, and then you'd sit there and you wonder why you couldn't bring a good guy in. You're
reflecting.
100%. I was bringing in that because that's all I could focus on.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you wonder, and then now, I look at my world now, and there is so many beautiful men in my world. I just look at guys and I just think,
there probably was then too.
Yeah, there was then too. I just didn't see it.
When you start focusing on they're all the same, well, that's anything. Same way guys do it as well.
100%. But this is the same trap and cycle that we go down with depression, with anxiety, right? We think that the whole world's bad. We think that everything's bad. So that might be just a tiny little example, but it's something that we all do, and men do it with women as well. They're like, oh, they're all about money, or and you see the status between certain men who will play down that role, but it's only the ones who've been down a path that have created the cycle for it. Yeah,
it's really interesting watching people start to highlight things they don't like about people or situations or stuff like that, and it's like, why is that on your mind?
Yeah.
They said this today. It's like,
yeah, it's because they're not healing.
It's like, what? How's that what you came out of today with?
Yeah, and because what happens is in our unconscious mind, we then project whatever we're fearing or whatever's going on out into the outside world. Have you ever noticed how some people can go, oh God, she's really pretty, and then someone might be like, no, I don't think so. Usually, if you think that someone's if you look at someone in their light, right, it doesn't matter what they look like. Usually, their energy will say that they're beautiful. Right? Whereas if we look at someone and we're looking...
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I'm saying, right? But if you look at someone and you're just going off and you're nitpicking, right, in their face...
You're trying to find something.
But I guarantee you, if you look, they do that to themselves.
Yeah.
They're pulling themselves apart, and they're not happy within themselves, and that's why they judge other people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And the same thing happens with everything that goes on in their life. It's all these cycles that happen. We sabotage lots of things. As I said with the man thing, I was sabotaging relationships because I hadn't healed my own traumas.
So you said it there about like anxiety and depression too, and I know we spoke about it a little bit before, but we'll go again. Mental health groups on Facebook.
Oh, they're so toxic.
I get, because I'm in a lot of them. I try and do a lot of learning as well. Like I want to learn the way, like the same thing, the way people are talking, if they're talking about themselves, if they're just posting stuff for attention, like all these sorts of things. And these mental health groups, I say it 2 years, are insane. I have no idea why anybody
would be in them.
Well, look, they serve their purpose. You know, if you have no one in your life, you need someone. You need someone. You do. You need a reach out, but you have to be aware enough of your situation to know when to grow from it. Because if you are surrounded by posts on Facebook that are constantly telling you how depressed everyone around you is, you are going to be depressed.
Yeah, totally.
It's going to drag you into that depressed state. Join a running group. Join anything else. Join a gym. Join a video game group. I don't care what it is.
But the thing is, these people go into these groups looking for significance. And if we look at the 6 human needs...
All of them? Do you think that? Yeah.
But most of them, right? Because the 6 human needs, right, are certainty, uncertainty, significance, growth.
We need uncertainty?
We need uncertainty. We need variety in our life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. And what will happen is people can fuel these needs and create an addictive cycle just with 3 of these met. And that can be in a negative light. So if you look at these groups, they're feeling significance, love and connection, and contribution because they're contributing, trying to make the world a better place. Right? So people think that they're doing well by joining these groups, but what they're actually doing, if we want to talk neurolinguistically, blah, 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 get the words out, but if we want to really talk about what's happening in the mind, every time they refire saying, I'm in a depression group, or I'm in this group, or I'm depressed, or I'm this, they actually make that more embedded in the unconscious mind and they make it more real. Yeah.
Because your place of significance now becomes that.
Yes.
Because that's your highest praise. That's your trophy at the time, you know what I mean? Yeah. And if you post in a group of 100,000 people, there's going to be some people who talk to you.
Yeah, and they're going to give you the sympathy.
They give you what you think you need at that time, and you go, "Wow, that's terrible." And then you start placing emphasis on having a terrible story.
Yeah.
If you go in and go, "I've had the worst day," and everyone goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, we feel better." That's good. That's good for you. You get the little hug, but then you come out of it and go, "Well, next time I need a hug, I'm going to go and tell everyone how bad my day's been," instead of working out the way to do it for yourself.
Yeah, we see people do it with the Instagram posts as well. That need for that like, right? And that attention and that narcissistic behavior. They might, you see young girls doing it, and I love seeing women empower themselves, but putting up a half-naked photo on Instagram just to get a like, that is the same response that they're doing when they're posting in that group because they're needing attention. They're needing that significance. And, what we need to start doing is looking within. Like, why is that trigger there for me to need that significance?
Same thing. If you look at that as a person and go, why are you doing that? All you're doing is taking away their only form of significance, like that sort of thing. If you highlight what's negative about a person to a person, then walk away, what do? That's nothing for them. Like, don't pick at someone for doing that. Yeah.
If you're going to give someone criticism, you also need to empower them on how to get out of it. And that's what most people don't do. They're quick to throw a shot at someone, but they're not quick to help them out. And there's a difference between enabling and actually helping someone. And the way that I say it is like for me to work with someone, like I need to know that you've got skin in the game. I need to know that you've given energy to make a change here, because there's a lot of energy that goes into working with people in this space, and it's never a do-to process, whether it be with hypnosis or with NLP or with anything. You are working with someone to create a better life for themselves and a better outlook. So you need to know that they're 100% committed in creating a life that they truly want. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. It definitely does. And that sort of commitment, that's why I always find it hard when somebody is I said it there on one of the posts the other day. People will be so quick to tell someone what they don't like about them. But when's the last time you heard one of those people go up and say to someone what you do like about them?
Yeah.
Or what you like about anything?
Yeah.
Like, God, it's a good day.
Yeah.
Even that. If people will carry energy from a negative situation
into the next one.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you were talking about before, about if you aren't aware of what you're carrying or when to get rid of it or how to get rid of it, it can really start to become a toxic thing. And, it's easy for us to sit here and point fingers, but I can safely say I still do it.
Yeah.
I know I still do it.
That is why I still have a coach.
Yeah.
Because I know I can get caught up in a drama cycle. I know that's a weak point of mine, and it's not a drama cycle of drama specifically. It's a drama cycle of being busy. That's me. I will. That's my thing that I will revolt to. I'll go, well, I'll just distract myself and be busy doing nothing. Like, I'll just be busy, achieving nothing. And therefore, I have a coach to keep me on track, right? Whereas people need that with their emotional intelligence, because it's like, okay, am I going to keep going down this cycle, or am I going to pull myself out? And whether it be a counsellor, a psychologist, someone who does what I do, whether it be just talking to a friend who is going to actually tell you the truth.
Just being accountable.
Yeah, they need someone to be accountable, but to show up for their best self. Mm-hmm. Because most people are so quick to play into pity parties. And I see it all the time. Like, I'll just use an example. My dog died on Friday, and I put a little post up, and the reason why I put the post up is because I'd actually shared him with a lot of my clients, and a lot of people knew who my dog was. And I didn't want to post it initially, but I did because I didn't want to have to go through the whole talking about it to everyone. And when I put that up, I noticed there was a lot of people who were very quick to send me a message and say, oh, I'm really, really, really sorry to hear that. But I hadn't heard from them in a really long time. And every single post I put up is quite positive. It's always positive, but they never comment on the positive, right? So whilst it's good to know that people are there when you're going through hard times, a lot of emphasis is only on the negative when people are doing something, and they'll stop and listen. But we need to start pulling people up for when they're doing the good stuff as well. Because that was one thing.
Why do you think that doesn't happen?
I think it's because people just get caught up in their own world and they forget to pat other people on the back. Yeah. And I think if there was more people getting patted on the back for the good that they're doing in the world, a lot more good would happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, that's why when I see you guys doing great stuff, I always comment, I always promote it, because we need to raise the awareness of people doing good stuff. Like, what you guys are doing here is changing lives. And if we can get more people aware and more people on board with wanting to change lives, then that's when lives are going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But too many people get caught up in, okay, well, they're sad, so I'm going to go and be sad with them, rather than going, let's actually change this. Let's flip this script. Whilst there is healing to be done, we need to move into a positive light with it.
Yeah. So, it's a funny way you think of it. Like, because I'm the same too. I don't get it. Like, I don't get the way. Like, I try to be the most positive, but to everyone, I want to make everyone smile like that. I'm an absolute clown when I'm out 24/7. I just want to make everybody happy all the time. I don't get why more people can sit there and whinge about something. Like, there's so much good stuff to be happy about.
But hurt people hurt people. Have you ever heard that saying before?
Have now.
So if you just say something was going on heavily in your life and you weren't able to think clearly from the stress response that was happening, you would then come from not coming from your higher self, right? So you're going to come from a hurt space. Yeah. And you're going to project whatever pain is going on out to the world. Mm-hmm. And so while someone might be having the best day, you won't see that they're having their best day. You'll only see their bad things, because your reticular activation system, which is on the front of the mind, which allows you to pinpoint which bit of information you're going to take into the brain, is only going to look for the stuff that matches yours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
So that's why it's, it can be quite hard if you are that person who's always trying to bring people up. You really need to make sure that your environment is going to support that as well, and it's not just you carrying everyone. You've got to also put yourself in an environment that's going to serve and carry you. Yeah, and
that's honestly what this is. Yeah. This is my chance to surround myself with everyone that is trying to do something good or positive and that sort of stuff. And I'm still the exact same person, but I know that I'm going to get further and that I'm going to be happier and be surrounded by like more. And everybody has their place. Like I don't want to lose anything I have. I just know I want more.
Yeah. And you know what? Too many people are afraid to say that. And I want to just honour you for a second for saying that, because I'm the same. I want more. I want the biggest, best possible life that I can possibly have. Yeah. And I want everyone who's in my life with me to come with me in that process. And too many people are so happy settling. And what happens is when we don't grow, that's when we become depressed, because we start looking back at the times that were really good. And if something's not really great now, or if we're not growing towards something even better, that's when we get caught in our past. And that's when people become depressed. That's when they get scared of the future, because they're not working towards anything and they get anxiety.
Ben just spoke about something really good, and I'm going to steal his saying here, but he said like when he's building like this, he said, I want to build like a scaffolding for people. Like he said, like people's health is a scaffolding. So you can have your gym, and that's one piece, and then you can have a community, like friends, it's another piece of scaffolding. And then you can have like seminars, wellness seminars, you can have nutrition classes. Yep. You can come down. He said, I want to build this thing to be a support network. He said, because eventually things happen in your life. Like if you lose a loved one, you feel like the world's tumbling down. You need to, if you're focused on building this and having all this good stuff around you, you're much better prepared for anything to go wrong.
Yeah. Far too many people are walking around half asleep.
What are the signs? What is someone?
Okay, so someone walking around half asleep. So basically they're going to work, coming home, going to sleep, going to work, coming home, going to sleep. Then they're fueling their body with bad food, not acknowledging what they're doing for themselves. And then they're blaming the world. And then on the weekend, usually a big sign is on the weekend, they will look towards the weekend throughout the whole week. And then the weekend will come, they'll party and drink and just throw their whole life away and their whole paycheck away in a weekend. And then Monday will come, and then they're doing the same thing again. It's a cycle. It's a self-sabotage cycle.
If you're getting angry while you listen to that,
I hope you are.
It could be for a reason.
Yes. This the way I talk and the way I do these things.
Do you think this, like, because I know a lot of people would simply say this, like, I don't need to want more. You know what I mean? That's the objection. And like we spoke about it last time, I know through my constant want for more, that's a certain level of being unsatisfied. And some people are more satisfied drinking. And I'm just challenging this so I can pick your brain on it. Because some people are happier Friday to Monday than other people are for their whole week going for it.
But let's look at the statistics of how big a week is. There's 7 days in a week. And if 5 of those days you're unhappy and only 2 of them you are happy, and you're actually fueling your mind with something else to give you an external high, are they really happy?
If they don't know.
If they don't know. That's exactly what I mean.
They're
asleep.
Yeah.
They're asleep. Like, I know for myself, I'm lucky to have a drink maybe once every 6 months. And if I do, I'll enjoy it. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not, like, I do enjoy it. Maybe it's every 3 months. We'll never know. Just when it happens, right? I enjoy my time having a drink with friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not something that takes up my entire life and I need to do every single week.
Do you reckon you're not hanging for it because you have a passion that you chase harder?
100%. Because I found a purpose. And too many people are not living with a purpose. You ask them what they do for a living, I just go to job. Or you hear the saying, another day, another dollar. If someone says that to me, you say it.
I used to say it every fucking day.
I used to say it myself. And you know what? Another day, another dollar. The minute someone says that to me, I just go, not in a growth space. I made a rule. I heard this on the weekend when I was down at the seminar that I was on. If someone is not 85% optimistic, delete their number from your phone. So you don't have to answer their call. And I was like, I'm so going to do that. Because if it's super important, they'll leave a message and you can call them back, right? But I thought to myself, so many people call us and just go, blah, 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 and dump their energy onto us. And then we're left in a shit space. And they're feeling good now because they've got rid of their energy, right? But it's the same thing that people are doing on the weekends.
Isn't that what an empath is?
Empath? Oh, yeah, totally. Like we're there to absorb, right? But at the same time, you've also got to learn your boundaries. Too many people don't know boundaries with themselves.
And I think that's the more important side, knowing your boundaries, because you I don't know, I'm going too deep into that, but you never know what that phone call is.
You never know what the phone call is, and you're right?
You know, because the people who aren't optimistic, they're going to crumble at some stage.
Yeah, but you know what? People have to crumble to break through.
Yeah, I know, but my fear with that is like what I spoke to you about as well, and like my friend who rang me the other day, and now he's sort of doing your course.
Yeah.
But that crumble, that's a scary crumble.
That crumble that he was in, without going into detail of what happened, it also gave him the power to break through.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
But what if I didn't answer the call?
I don't know how to answer that question, I'll be honest.
That's the thing I always go to, and I know there's always people like yourself, and I've got other people in my life who will be like, Ty, if you try to care for every single person as you move along, you know, it takes a toll on you. You're not going to get as far, all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, can't. Like, what's your response?
That's
to
why
that?
I developed the 5-day program.
Yeah.
Because that 5-day program, that free program, is enough to pull them out of any dark space that they're in. And if they don't have the money to like go on and do further stuff and do that, that's okay. At least I know I've done something to make my part count in the community.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Because I'm so sick of people not being able to have any support. And that's why that is there. Because, you know, regardless of whether or not... The hardest thing, and I say to you, like, you need a coach, you need a coach, you need a coach. But if people are financially, like, not in a space to be able to afford it, but they're still looking for a support network that could potentially bring that in later, they need to start somewhere. They need to have a support network that's going to allow them the space to grow.
Absolutely.
And that is why I did it. There is a million, like, well, not a million, but there's nearly 100 people in that group that are all in a growth mindset. Okay, and I plan on making that as big as possible. And if anyone is looking for something...
That's the opposite of a Facebook group that I was talking about.
Yes, it is the complete opposite. And
So what happens after the 5 days?
So after the 5 days, if they want to continue growing in that space and understanding more, there's then a 6-week program where they can dive even deeper, which is interactive coaching with me, not just video modules.
And if someone's, like you said, if someone's financially unavailable to make a commitment to that, like, are you saying that the group is still like
the group is still open
for everyone to sit there and talk and be around that? That's
100%.
That is exactly what people need to be.
So if you jump in that group, you'll see posts from people going, I'm struggling with this today. I get on there and I will personally say this, and this, or I'll say flip the script. It's time to shuffle. It's time to do something, and I'll give like I won't go dive deep into it as like super deep as I'd love to, but I'm always there to coach. I'm always there to support. I'm always there to give something more, because I don't ever want anyone who is in my tribe, who is working with me, to feel like they do not have they're not supported. You know, and my biggest thing is I've grown a community and a culture within that to know.
Do you find that a lot of people just need to say their story?
Yes.
They just need to
My
get it out.
first coaching session with anyone, as you know, you've done this, I let them tell me their story. I go right into depth, and I ask particular questions that make them dive even deeper than they've ever told anyone that story. Yeah. Because the first part of healing is knowing that someone cares. And for anyone who's worked with me, they will know the depth that I go to ask those questions. And I'll be like, wait a minute, well, this happened here. How did that play out? And I will link it all in together to understand, to help them understand before we even start working.
Yeah.
You know.
Put the puzzle together.
Yeah. Because that's the biggest problem. Most people are lost moving forward because they haven't put the puzzle together from the past, to go off your theory there.
So it's very important, I think, for a lot of people to get in touch with Casey if you're struggling with these sorts of things, because I really think the more you think it's not for you, the more likely it's for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you are... If you're not wanting to grow, then you're pushing something away.
Yeah. I say it all the time, the trigger. Like when I go, ooh, I hope you're triggered. I hope you're triggered because that shows you where you need to heal.
People must hate that.
Oh, they do. But I think the biggest thing that most people is they're not allowing the space to understand that they actually have filters on their own mind. So their previous experiences, anything that's happened to them, is going to create a completely different... Like what they think that they're saying is then the other person will have their own filters and their own system and their own thing going on. So then they're going to perceive what they're saying in a different way.
When I hear you talk like that, I sort of understand it. But for someone, if you aren't a bit open-minded, like I don't know if this is true or not, but I hear the way you talk and I'm like, people, that that sounds like nonsense to some people.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, I know there's a lot of people that would hear you talk and just go, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. And I would have thought the same.
What is how can someone take the first step away from that?
From the filters.
Because if they're listening there and they've heard this whole thing and go, I like everything, then hear you do that and go...
Yeah, so what happens, just so to give an example of a filter, okay, right? So just say a young girl at the age of 7, all right, her brain is right now in this crucial phase of understanding what's going on, and it's completely connected, right? So it's an imprinting phase, that's what we call it, right? Yeah. So her whole belief system is built up from 0 to 7. And just say within that age, I'm going to go really deep real quick for a second here, she gets raped. Okay, so what will happen is then she will develop this theory of all men are bad and no one can help me, no one can save me. So then what will happen is she could be 20 years old, out at a club one night, and then suddenly a guy advances on her really fast just to say hello. But because she's primarily trying to protect herself, she will go, and freak out and pull and reserve herself, pull right back. Yeah. She may not even remember getting raped. She may completely have blocked it out, but what that does is it creates a subconscious filter on her mind that you're not safe right now.
Yeah. So what are the first steps like you take someone through? Because I want someone to listen to this and have something that they can take out of it.
Yeah.
Or, if anyone is feeling triggered off listening to stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's something someone can do?
So the first thing I would actually get them to do is I'd get them to journal what's happening in their life right now. And then I'd get them to jump back to the first time that they experienced something and journal that scenario as well. So what will happen is if you journal the scenario of, just say someone's suffering depression right now. Okay, so I'd get them to sit down and I would say, all right, whatever's happening right now for you to be in that emotion, I want you to write the entire scenario out and I want you to write down any emotional responses that you're having with it right now. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write down the first time you ever felt that emotion. And I want you to write down the emotional responses that you had in that time as well. And then I want you to think of one other time in your life that you had this same thing happen, same scenario, same emotional group. And I want you to have a look and then I want you to come back to me and tell me what the cycle is that's happening in your life. Because the biggest thing is so many people are used to having everyone do things for them. I'm not there to coach someone to do the work for them. I'm there to help them empower themselves, to understand themselves. And the only way that we understand ourselves is by doing the work. And if you can sit down and go through that and just be like, just say for instance, like one day you had a really, really bad day at work. When was the first time you felt the same emotion that's carried out right now in your bad day? Go back to that. And then when was it another time in your life where you felt that as well? And then if you can chain the events together and just like, they may be completely different scenarios, but you may see a link.
Yeah, you start to put the dots together.
Start to put it together and you can start to go, okay, well, if that's going to happen in my life and that's going to cause me to feel this way, how can I change my situation? Do I need to change my environment? Do I need to change people I'm hanging around? Do I need to give myself a bit more love? Do I need to be a bit more compassionate to myself? These are the things that matter because our environment and the people that we surround ourselves with, whether it be work, friends, family, or whatever, they need to be on your team, and if it's not causing you to feel like your best self, then it needs to be reevaluated. Yeah,
it's a great point. It's a great point, and I'd love to see it happen more often, but it can be a slow process.
It can be, and I didn't get here overnight.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It took me been in this game now for nearly 4 years.
But if you look at it like this, you can have a slow process into suicide or depression, or you can have a slow process into growth.
Yeah. Everything comes down to the choices.
If you're feeling that bad, like when you just said that, I thought about something interesting. I was like, if you, for depression and anxiety, that becomes their identity.
Yep.
And you start to fly this flag, and especially if you've got people around you who don't understand anxiety or depression, they go, oh, that's Ty, he's depressed. And then you're depressed Ty. Yeah, you don't get the chance. Yeah, you don't get the chance to become out of that. And then if you're feeling down and there's not the right support network around you, they're like, "Oh, you're depressed," and you're like, "Well, I guess I am. I guess I am depressed."
2. Yeah, day 2 is all about identity.
What I was just thinking when you said that was, if you ask someone to write down the way you feel now, do you feel that way? Is that what you're feeling now, or is that what you think you have to feel now?
Good point. Really good point. And you know what? Most of us are in that space of that's what I think I have to feel now. Because at any given time, you can choose a state. An emotional response only lasts for 90 seconds in the body. That's what most people don't realize. But they will drag that out all day because they don't know how to get out of it. But when we understand what we need to do and how we can flick the switch in our own mind to get out of it, that's how we do it very fast. And that's why people go to me, oh my God, you're so happy all the time. It's like, yeah, I have stuff happen in my life too that drags me down. I'm not immune to it. But I know how to flick the switch because I've done the work. And you're right about the identity attachment. It's like, we get so caught up in identity, but there's a great book from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I teach a lot of the stuff that he teaches, and I'm very open about that. Mm-hmm. But what happens is people, they create a known future from a known past, right? A predictable future from a known past. So the only time we can create change...
I want to go through that.
Okay.
Say it again. They create a known future from a known past.
Sorry, I should have said they create a predictable future from a known past.
So they think what their path is what that has to be.
Yeah, so they think, like, because they give so much energy to the past in their thought process, they then create that in the future. Okay, because the unconscious mind is safe with whatever's happened in the past because it's already happened. So then if it knows it's safe in the past, it'll keep happening. And this is why vision boards and putting yourself in like positive, big-minded people space works. Because the only time we can create change in our life is right now. It's the only thing we have. Tomorrow is an illusion. Time is an illusion. The only thing we physically have is right now. Okay? And if we are going, all right, I'm going to create change in my energy right now, and I'm going to step into the unknown, that's the only way we create a different future, right? If we went and we gave all our energy to the past and then we wondered why we weren't attracting anything new in, that's because you keep giving it to the past. The only way to create a different future is by giving yourself, your unconscious mind, the safety mechanisms to think it into reality. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
You've gone a bit woo-woo when I talk about this stuff, but...
You go very deep, but, you're either ready to hear it or you're not.
Yeah, and
doesn't matter.
Some people will hear this and just go, oh,
I always like saying it, but I always used to find myself the person who was sitting there talking to people at a party, like a random, because they wanted to talk about something deep. And that's honestly why I want to do this, because I just love fucking talking. I love trying to get people. Let someone talk for an hour, and they start to give off more. They start to be more themselves. They start to let some shit go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you said before, when you program just to say something because someone said something. Yeah. Instead of just hearing hearing it out. And
I think the biggest thing is we need to allow space for people to be human. But the thing is, we're so caught up in significance.
We're impatient.
Yeah, and we want a quick fix, right? And that's where the posts come into the group. That's where all these things come in. But we're too impatient to work on ourselves. And whilst I will say this, like depression and anxiety and all those things, they're very real. They are so very real. But the only way that people are ever going to get out of it is if they are willing to do the work themselves. Because, and you know this firsthand, right? You can sit there and you can hold someone's hand through it. You can do everything that you want to do to help them and be there and nurture them through it and know that they've got you. But if in their mind they don't believe that anyone's there for them, there is nothing that we can do. And so it's up to them to go, you know what? I need to take these goggles of loneliness off, because there is people out there who are willing to help. There's people like us in this space willing to help these people. And
like Ben in this space.
Yeah, like Ben in this space. People who have been through it, and we now help because we've been through it. Like, I've had years of depression and anxiety and stuff like that in my life. Didn't come into this space just because suddenly it just happened. I don't know where you want me to go with that.
I want to know how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, so I have an office at the Newcastle Health Collective, so I can work out of there. I am also based at Balance Health Collective as personal trainer. So when I train with people, I'm just not your average trainer. Obviously, we work through everything. But reach out to me on Facebook. Add me on Facebook personally, Casey Warwick.
Can people add themselves into the group? Or
yes, if you go on my Facebook page, on my Casey Warwick, the group comes up straight away, and you can add them. So you can request to go in there, and then I'll just accept you straight away. So there is a question process in there. Why do you want to be a part of this? So I need to know that everyone in that group has 100% integrity, and they are in there for the right reasons. So if they're not, if they're going in there just to, I don't know, scope out potential new clients or things like that. I don't want them in my group. I want people who actually want to be helped and know that they've got a tribe behind them. Okay, so I'm very particular about like making sure that people are in there who want to be helped, who want a bigger life. So yeah, they can add on the group, or if you just search #undone, the group will come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, or have a look at my Instagram or my artistry page on Facebook. It's all on there.
It's all on there.
It's all on there.
Oh, we'll put the links below. That'll make everything easy.
Yeah. So yeah, Facebook and Instagram is probably the most easiest one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.